Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're embarking on a journey through time, exploring a story of immense power, unprecedented scale, and inevitable decline. We're talking about the British Empire, the empire on which the sun, as they said, never set. But as we all know, even the longest days eventually give way to twilight. How did a global superpower that once controlled a quarter of the world's land and population shrink to the island it is today? Stick around, because this is the epic story of the fall of the British Empire. Picture the world in the 19th century. Queen Victoria is on the throne, and the British Empire is at its zenith. From the bustling ports of Hong Kong to the vast plains of Canada, from the heart of Africa to the jewel in the crown, India, the Union Jack flew high. This wasn't just about territory, it was about influence. British technology, its legal systems, its language, and its culture were shaping the modern world. The Royal Navy patrolled the oceans, securing trade routes that brought immense wealth back to London. It was an era of supreme confidence, a sense of destiny, and a belief in its own civilizing mission. For many in Britain, the empire was a source of immense pride, a symbol of their nation's greatness, a seemingly permanent fixture of the global order. But the seeds of its own undoing were already being sown. The first tremors that would eventually shake the empire to its core were felt long before its peak. Think back to the American Revolution. The loss of the 13 colonies was a stunning blow, a clear sign that the desire for self-determination was a powerful force. But the real turning point, the event that truly began the countdown, was World War I. The Great War was a catastrophe for Europe, and Britain was no exception. It drained the nation of its wealth and, more tragically, an entire generation of its young men. The immense cost of the war left Britain heavily in debt to the United States, shifting the global financial center from London to New York. More than that, the principle of self-determination, championed by leaders like Woodrow Wilson, which was meant for European nations, ignited aspirations for independence across the colonies. Millions of colonial soldiers from India, Africa, and the Caribbean had fought and died for the empire. They returned home not just as veterans, but as men who had seen the world and now questioned why they should be denied the very freedoms they had fought to defend. If World War I was the initial crack, World War II was the earthquake that shattered the foundations. The war was a heroic moment for Britain, standing against tyranny, but it came at a crippling cost. The nation was bankrupt. The fall of Singapore in 1942 to the Japanese was a particularly devastating moment. It was a massive military defeat, but more importantly, it was a psychological one. The myth of British invincibility in Asia was shattered forever. The people of the colonies saw that their imperial rulers could be defeated. After the war, a weary and impoverished Britain simply no longer had the resources or the political will to maintain its vast, sprawling empire against a rising tide of nationalism. The world had changed. Two new superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, were now dominating the global stage, and both were, for their own different reasons, opposed to old-style European colonialism. The Age of Empire was definitively over. The decolonization process began almost immediately. The first and most significant departure was India in 1947. The jewel in the crown was gone. The independence of India and its traumatic partition into India and Pakistan created a domino effect. It sent a clear message to other colonies. Independence was no longer a distant dream, but an achievable reality. Throughout the 1950s and 60s, a wave of independence movements swept across Africa. Leaders like Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana and Jomo Kenyatta in Kenya galvanized their people, demanding self-rule. While some transitions were peaceful, others were marked by conflict and struggle. The Suez Crisis of 1956 was the final humiliating nail in the coffin of Britain's status as a top-tier global power. When Britain, along with France and Israel, invaded Egypt to reclaim the Suez Canal, they were forced into a humiliating withdrawal by pressure from the United States. It was a stark, public demonstration that Britain could no longer act independently on the world stage without American approval. So, what is the legacy of the British Empire today? It's incredibly complex and deeply controversial. On one hand, you have the spread of the English language, parliamentary democracy, and legal systems that are still in use in many former colonies. The Commonwealth of Nations exists as a voluntary association of 56 independent countries, a sort of ghost of the empire, fostering cooperation and shared values. But on the other hand, the legacy is one of exploitation, of arbitrarily drawn borders that have caused decades of conflict, and of economic structures that often benefited the colonizer at the expense of the colonized. The scars of empire are still visible across the globe, and the debates about its impact are more alive and more important than ever. From a global colossus to a medium-sized European power, the journey of Britain over the last century has been extraordinary. The fall of its empire wasn't a single event, but a long, complex process driven by war, economic exhaustion, the unstoppable rise of nationalism, and a fundamental shift in the global balance of power. It's a story that reminds us that no power, no matter how great, is permanent. Empires rise, and just as surely, they fall. It's a crucial chapter of world history that continues to shape the geopolitical landscape we live in today. Thank you so much for joining me on this historical deep dive. What are your thoughts on the legacy of the British Empire? Let me know in the comments below. I'm always fascinated to read your perspectives. If you found this video interesting and want to see more content like this, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps us grow and continue making these videos for you. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.